Hey guys, quick tip before we get started. I am using three different primers: a normal run-of-the-mill yellow, blue, red. I have Quin Coral, Hansa yellow, medium, and Cerulean blue. So I went ahead and I've done the background of this New York scene in Cerulean blue. And now let's work on the front. This is the foliage. And I'm just gonna do a different couple of different peach colors and not layer them, kind of put them next to each other. So I'm using wet and dry, just kind of keeping these areas separate. I'm going to add some on top a little bit later, but hopefully you guys were able to get this sketched on somewhat. I'm doing a little bit of a yellow ochre. We're gonna add it's a fall scene in New York. I'm so excited about this one. So little peach. So for that one, I took my Quin Coral and added a little bit of the Hansa yellow medium. I had some of these mixed up ahead because I am gonna want some turquoise later for the buildings. And this is kind of an abstract expressionist look that I'm going for. I'm trying to go away from ultra realistic colors, greens in the landscape, everything the way we see it. This has been my goal my whole artistic career, and I'm sort of just now figuring it out. So this is a yellowy green. I'm putting some things in there so you recognize what things are. You're gonna know that this is a foliage area, but it's colors you wouldn't necessarily expect, like a bright peach necessarily, but some warm colors for fall. And a few greens, just a lot of different colors along the thing. This is a view from Central Park to the city and the buildings beyond. Got excited because my family is going to Hamilton and Leslie Odom Jr., the original Aaron Burr, is performing tonight. They're there. I'm at home with the dogs, but it was my choice. But I'm excited for them. And they're going to leave this for Free Art Friday somewhere in Central Park. Okay, so I added a little bit more of a little orange to that peach that I had. And I'm gonna put some of those up in for some leaves and then make a real orangey yellow. And this paint is fairly thick. It's not watery. It's just kind of, I mean, thick as far as watercolor goes. And I'm adding, this is also for some leaves and some area. I left some of that white open from the sky. We'll just block in some. These are just really going to be loose, just so it looks like we're looking through the trees to the city beyond. Different shades, fall colors, whatever you like. We're not worrying about the shapes of the leaves, just putting them in there. Maybe a couple of little light green, like super pale green. Some haven't turned yet. And then just kind of fill up some of the sides of those tree trunks. Really just trying to get it framed. The picture, the buildings framed in between the trees. And then I'm just going to put a little bit more green in some of these areas by the foliage. You just do what looks right, what looks good to you. The more color, the better. Really trying to be more expressionist. So, I mean, it kind of looks a little bit realistic color palette, but I'm working towards it and we'll make the buildings a little bit different than you'd expect. And we'll add some more expressionist type colors down at the bottom, like for the bridge. Um, right now, we haven't gone too crazy. So this is like a pink salmony color. You all can choose. Mix up some red, little light of my Quin Coral, whatever red you use. You can use the red, yellow, blue that you like. And that's what's helping me really change my color palette. I mixed up some purple and I'm putting that in for the bridge down here. And then add in that's just one line across. We'll add some darker blues to that. Make a little darker purple in some area down there. So when you use the different primary colors, go ahead and make a few color wheels and see which one looks good. I am limiting myself to only these three colors. I will add the tiniest touch of Payne's gray, but everything I use is coming from only these three colors. That's going to also make it, even though we're throwing a bunch of color in here, it's going to be harmonious. It's not going to be chaotic because it's all mixing from the same three colors. Okay, now we're throwing in a little bit after we filled in a little bit at the bottom, some purple. I'm starting to add a little blue, green, just a little bit in some areas, and we're going to add more of that up into the buildings in a little bit. So it's kind of mirroring that color in the bottom and the top. Do I have a little bit of balance? And see, we're moving kind of quickly. We don't need to take a lot of time in any certain area. This is not a precise painting. This is just fun. Just following that line that we had for the bridge, just making the bottom of it blue. I kind of like that we're contrasting some of these cool colors down here with the warm colors of the foliage. And just filling in a couple things under the bridge as if we're looking through it. I'm trying to keep, I like the contrast between the cool colors in the front and the warm around the sides and the foliage. So I think that's good. We're not really needing to worry about anything specific or a ton of details in the front. But what we do want to have is our darkest values in the front so that everything in the back looks like it's going far back. So your darkest blues, your darkest purples, your darkest of everything, and that'll give us the illusion of space in the big city. Just throw in like a big chunk of blue over here. I'm keeping it with the cool colors, but like a pretty solid, straight cerulean blue, nothing mixed. I think that's cool. I'm trying to leave a little bit of white space between things. But my big secret, if you've watched any of my other videos, is to kind of throw some in at the end with a white paint marker, because that's where I'm at. I just get so excited, I don't even plan ahead enough. So I end up wanting to add a little bit more gaps and white space at the end, and I'll do that with this one too. Because at the bottom, I've already covered most of the terrain down there. I'm gonna put a little bit of green. I don't need it too realistic. I'm just making a little bit of a blue green just to add a couple more places. And put a little bit into the sides of the green I already have, and then some into the leaves of the trees. But again, you guys use any colors you want. You can keep it as realistic or as abstract, expressionist as you want. And then, so I want to do some tree chunks. You can keep it brown or you can do colors, kind of dark colors going up. I'm mixing just everything on my palette because if you mix three primaries, you'll get a brown, just a bunch of colors together and you'll end up with the brown. What shade it is depends on what strength of the primaries you're using. If they're warm or cool. But this one's coming out with like a little bit of a reddish brown. Um, and I will use a little bit later, a little bit of Payne's gray. But I'm just gonna throw that on there. It's a little mustard yellow, totally fine. And maybe a couple of strips of different color, like a little blue going up or a darker color, just to get some of the branches in. A few, it doesn't really need a lot of detail on the sides here. Just so it's there, and a couple of thinner branches branching out from the main trunk. And you can keep this kind of watery. If you want to get a little skinnier on this, I'm just putting in a little different color. See, guys, I just put in some red there. But if you want to get skinnier, use the point of your brush for the like thinner leaves, thinner branches, and also maybe water down the paint a little bit. And that helps you get it to drag it across a little bit. And in case I didn't say, I'm using a number 4 round. So at the very tip of the point of the brush to make those skinnier branches. I just put in a little bit lighter on the side. I really have maybe 4 or 5 colors just up and down the trunk. A bit more orange in there, a couple of dots of color. Now that that first layer is dry, if you wanted to add anything more, I'm going to put a few tiny leaves towards the end of those branches. You can put some coming up, but if you put too much over the sky that's already done, it's going to change. It's okay. It'll overlap with the blue, be a little bit greenish yellow. You just want to get a couple more coming out. And you just decide when you're happy with it. And one of the things I still work on is not going back in and adding detail and doing stuff. Don't overwork things. So I decided to pull out a little paint, but then went back over here. I don't have the whole get in and get out philosophy going yet, although I try. So ideally just putting a few swipes, being confident with that on the tree and just moving to another section. Okay, now let's tackle some things in the buildings. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a really nice turquoise, your blue with your yellow, and it will come out depending on which primaries you used. It'll come out looking pretty nice. I would like it to be a little more blue than green, but I'll have some of it that I'll use that's more green than blue. What we really want to look at the buildings is just keeping one side in more shadow and one side a little lighter. And we kind of did that by putting the line down it so we can sort of see which direction each side is. I'm going to have also a little bit of light yellow and just mix up couple of these things. Again, remember, we're going to keep the valleys back there lighter than those in the foreground. So this is kind of a light touch of this. This is straight blue. I'm going to put a couple of swipes of that. And then a little bit of the aqua and put that in some parts on the front side of the building, the front left. Gonna do some on the front right of that one. We're gonna get a bunch of different colors in and next to each other. I don't want them to mix really right now, so I'm just kind of putting them next to each other. They mix a little, that's fine. I'm not intending, I don't want it wet on wet. I want the colors to be kind of distinct. And I mix kind of a little bit of a darker blue. I'm giving just a few little lines at the bottom of the buildings. And then a super pale, like mauve color. So a pinky purple. And you guys, again, this is the beauty. You can decide what colors to do all this. You can put in, we're doing a little bit of cooler colors back here. Just as long as you keep the value, so the light or the dark, lighter than the front, and also lighter on one side. Pick one side of your buildings that are darker than the other. Just putting little squares here, little lines here, just about a little about shape and color. I'm going to make a couple of lines, just sort of perspective to look like they're going back. We're starting to get the idea that we have some buildings here. So I'm keeping, as you guys can see, I'm keeping my lighter side sort of around the corner on the right side of these buildings and making the fronts a little darker, as if the sun's coming from the right back. And just putting in, I'm using this sort of light greenish aqua, almost like the color of Statue of Liberty. It's such a cool shade. It's sort of metal patina. Okay, I'm doing a little this bluish green but darker on this part of the building because it's the left side, left going back. And this is really all there is to it, guys. I can make it look like this is a little bit of an angled roof, kind of, or just a different angle on the building. Put a little at the top, have a little line coming up, a little antenna, like the Empire State. I didn't make a lot of decisions beforehand. I'm just kind of deciding as I go. I'm not looking at a reference. I looked at a reference picture for the initial drawing, but I'm not looking at a reference picture for the colors. So that's the great thing. Just all I did look at a black and white, as I showed you guys at the beginning, just to get the idea of where the darks and lights are going to be. But then you go crazy. Do what you want to do. I'm really liking it. I'm going to stick with this for a while, this expressionist look. Because honestly, if we wanted an exact copy, we could just take a really good picture. That's what the artists coming out, the expressionists, and all the sort of rebellious art movements after just around 1900 and later, after World War I, after some chaos that had been going on in the world, but also after the camera was developed and in good use, because you can take a photo. So art had the freedom now not to just have to be a portrait or a record. It could be more expressive. And so that's what I love. Okay, I'm darkening the side of the building by just putting a few lines in there. I added almost like an ochre brown. I didn't like over here the way my building was a little bit tilted. The line on the side was really wonky, so I'm just trying to straighten it kind of by rubbing over my pencil marks. Trying to rub away some of the pencil marks I erased, but not really well when I started. Yeah, you guys can take a look and see if you think what you think we should be adding. I'm gonna just put a little bit of yellow, like a yellow ochre color. So I mixed kind of a yellow with some brown that I had on my palette left, mixed from the tree trunks. And just added a few darker things. Not super dark, but medium. We want the foliage to be medium, the front to be dark, and then the back to be sort of our more light values. Especially that building on the right and left. Those don't have a lot of detail on purpose. And then just a couple brighter blue areas. I felt like this area of purple was a little bit much to break it up a little. And then, so my overhead light just went out, so I'm going to fix that. It didn't just get dark in New York. The sun has set. We'll fix that up so we can see a little bit better. In the meantime, see if you need. Now the sun is setting and rising again. Uh, There we go. See if you feel like we need anything. The back is starting to dry a little bit, so we could add if we want to. You can darken a few areas that have dried, putting in a little foliage. You get a little more of the idea that there's foliage in there, and this is Central Park. I'm just making a little bit of the top of the bridge, a little bit more of the purple. I'm thickening the top of the bridge a little. You guys can make decisions as you go. Whatever, step back from it a little. This is a little mini, so you can just step back a little and get a view of it a little far back to see what you might want to. Yeah, I didn't mention that either, I think at the beginning, but mine's a 3 by 3. I'm absolutely obsessed with minis. Feel like they're less daunting. You're kind of, especially if you're using the nicer paper, which 100% I recommend. So I have Arches 140 pound cold press. I kind of don't feel like I want to use a huge sheet if I don't like the design or something. I'm not committed to it. So doing the small squares gives me a chance to play around before I'm committed to a huge sheet. I wanted a little bit on the right side, seemed a little light, so I'm putting a little bit of a grayish purple here and there to make the bridge a little bit more defined. But I'm thinking it doesn't need too much more. This is where we have to decide, okay, we're good. We don't need to keep adding. We're going to make a mess. We keep adding on top. It's dry, so you can add some, but you don't want to do too much. Here I go. So I say that, and here we go with the chunks. Somebody needs to intervene here. I need a watercolor intervention. Overworkers Anonymous. I am the overwork your painting anonymous. I will be the sponsor of everyone. See, let's overwork and let's go back in and fix it. I'm gonna add some. I'm adding water and then taking out some of the darkness on that. I feel like it was you could see the lines too well from back where we are. And I want to keep the right side lighter and put maybe like a little window or something. We don't need a lot, but like something that looks like a window. Only one. I really don't need a lot, just light. We don't need really windows or anything else. We really can't see too much. We don't want to add a lot. But I'm pretty excited how it is now. Maybe put in like a little couple things that look like details. Wherever you think you might need a few. Maybe under some of the architecture where it meets, like under a roof line. They're tiny details, but not a ton. It's up to you. If you guys have been to New York and you know a couple buildings, do that scene. I'm not a big city person, but I definitely liked visiting. I went for a couple concerts, Madison Square Garden, the museums, the art museums, of course, amazing. So I do like it, and all the food options and just the culture. But as far as the sheer amount of humans, I couldn't do it for long. Okay, so I'm just getting rid of some of my stuff here. I'm gonna touch up, getting rid of pencil lines where I can. I'm gonna touch up the last bits by putting in some white paint marker. You guys can look where you want to put a few white lines, and I'm gonna show in a second. I'll stop the video and I'm gonna show you kind of where my decisions to put the white. Yeah, so you can see it just does add a little pop when you put some. I put a little few things on the side of the building for some white. I put some in the foliage, some in the leaves. Just anywhere you think needs a little space opening up. Put a little line under the bridge, just kind of anywhere I wanted to add a little bit more white space, and that was with a white paint marker. So I think I'm happy now. So I hope you're excited and you captured the vibe, a little bit of New York. And if so, like and subscribe. We will go on this color journey together and paint some other cool expressionist stuff.
Very heart of it, New York, New York.